Hello, this is Jennifer Petersen, and welcome to the Tea Pods podcast. This is the show for tea enthusiasts. It's all about tea education, tea travel, and tea business. It's time to get started. Let's welcome today's guest. Well, let's share some photographs with viewers, and then you can take us through and tell us a little bit more, even more in depth about what you do. Jennifer, Three Sisters Tearoom. Who are we looking at right now?
Well, you're looking at the three sisters and one mom, and this is taken in our tea room. We had a black and white tea. You might have a hint by the way we're dressed. And if I start all the way over on my left, would be my middle daughter, Andrea, and she is pretty much my office manager. She's my musician, plays live music for us at the tea room. And then next to, then there's me, and then next to that is my eldest daughter, Julia, and she's just a gifted graphic designer. She does all the layout and designs for our books. She's also an herbalist. She's also getting her master's in linguistics. She's really got a lot of interests, and all of those interests benefit the tea room. She's a master baker too. She's just, I couldn't do the teas without her. And next to her is my youngest daughter, Meredith. She is just 12, and she was very young when we started the tea room. She was 5 or 6, and she's always been our greeter, and it's really very sweet. We've mostly senior ladies that come to the teas, and she'll just greet them with big hugs and warm smiles, and as she's gotten older, that hasn't changed, but that's the three sisters, and without them, there would be no tea room.
You've been around a lot, you've done much, and you have things, we'll do some interior shots in a minute and show people what it's like inside Three Sisters Tea Room. But as you have been exploring ideas, and in the course of things, you have items for sale in your tea shop as well. Could you tell us a little bit about those? And then I'll get carried away with some other questions about that. But tell us a little bit about the interior of Three Sisters Tea Room.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is that it's tiny. It's only 12 feet by 36 feet, and it was originally designed to be a mother-in-law's apartment, and that is what it is when mother-in-laws come to visit, but for the rest of the time it is our tea room or classroom workshop. So we can sit 20 people maximum, but inside it's nestled into forest, and out all of the windows is nothing but woods. And inside we have 4 tables, and we also have a little bit of outdoor seating. And we have a minuscule little area in the back where we have some tea related gifts. Of course, we sell our books. We also sell our signature scone mixes, which are lavender white chocolate. We sell a host of teas, some that we blend ourselves. My daughter does some herbal blends, as well as just teas that we serve in the tea room.
Well, it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like people are actually having fun. I love the one with the blowing the bubbles.
That was taken, the bubble blowing was for our birthday this year in June. We always have a big birthday celebration, and we had a theme of Now We Are 6 based on the Winnie the Pooh book. And so at everybody's place setting, we had miniature bottle of bubbles, and I love that picture because it really captures the joie de vivre that I hope people feel when they enter our tea room.
It just, every time I look at that, I smile. And I wondered, I'd forgotten about the Winnie the Pooh connection, but that explains why the blowing of the bubbles too. Why you blow bubbles at tea. It's kind of cute. Now, when we're talking about you do such a wide variety of things, and I know you're focused, but at the same time, you're so talented in different areas. You have, you're the author of several books. Now, on the one on the right-hand side, The Infused, why tea time and fine art?
Well, I've always been a lover of fine art, always. And when my daughters put together a book called Hide and Seek, I loved the book. It highlighted beautiful works of art for children to look at, and then a few probing questions for them to look a little closer. And I thought, wow, I could do that with tea. So I selected fine art paintings, and every single painting has tea in it, but also has a child in it. And then I wrote a little sketch about the artist and some questions for the children to notice a few details that they might have missed if they were looking quickly. And the hope is that if you introduce fine art at an early age, children will grow up with an appreciation of fine art. And then that transferred right over to poetry. Along with art, we've also enjoyed poetry in our home quite a bit. And so I found an old collection of 19th century children's poetry, and its name just happened to be have afternoon tea in it. And so of course I wanted to bring that back into print for today's reader. And I noticed some of the words were a little outdated and maybe hard to understand for a 21st century child. So we made some annotations and we explained a few things. And the result was the middle book. And I'm very, very proud of that, only because this is such beautiful poetry that was basically lost. And now very easily you can pick up a book of beautiful children's poetry that has lilting rhymes and also gives you a glimpse into how people lived in another century. So it's very educational.
Well, I think those two books are beautiful. I mean that like aesthetically, they are beautiful. My favorite though, of everything you've written, my favorite is the Wee Bites and Nibbles. Tell us about that, because you know, if I were a mom, well, I am a mom, but I'm a grandmom, I would want that book as like a handbook on how to give a children's tea party. That would be one. I know you focus on manners and some other things, but every page is like a guideline of how to do a tea party. And I would think too that if I owned a tea room in Pacific or a tea business in Pacific, I would want that book for some ideas on having special events with children. How did that book come about? And can you tell us a little bit more about what's inside?
Sure, and thank you very much for that compliment. This book was a labor of love. Every tea that is in this book, we actually had in our tea room. And then at the end of that tea, I would just jot down my notes. And it's those notes that eventually were turned into the book, Wee Bites and Nibbles. And time again, I would run into ladies who repeatedly told me, I could never host a tea party. I wouldn't know where to begin. How do you even get started? How do you know what to serve, what activities to do? And I thought, well, I actually do have a few things to say on that subject. And so we began compiling the teas that we did. The unique thing about this book, yes, it has recipes and it has manners in it, but it also highlights 6 very popular children's picture books that you can get at the library, or that you probably, if you have children, have on your bookshelf at home. And then we take those books and we create a tea around the theme using that book. So we have recipes that reflect the culture that the book might take place in. We have crafts that are connected to what is going on or what happens in the book. We have lots of coloring pages in there for the children to do. But it's a handbook. It's ready to use. You can take it, open it up, and get started on planning a child's tea right away. There's nothing special required except for the book.
Now these are on Amazon, and on Amazon, on the Wee Bites and Nibbles, on either on your Author Central page, or just if a person went in searching for the Wee Bites and Nibbles in specific, does that have flip page on there so people could actually see inside? And the reason I'm asking is not to reveal the contents necessarily of all the tea party ideas, but because I love the artwork. It is so adorable. Who did the design inside?
Well, thank you. It is very cute. And yes, you can look inside. And we have a little character, and she's called Giggles. And she has been the tea room mascot since the very beginning. And she she's present with us at all of our manners classes. We have great big poster board size drawings of her. She's just a little stick figure, but she is in every tea that's in the book, whether it's Nancy Drew or Lily's purple plastic purse. Giggles is on the sidelines walking you through the tea, and my daughter Julia is the artist of and creator of Giggles.
Well, she is as cute as a bug, and Giggles is a perfect name because that's what every time I look at one of the drawings, that's how I feel. I feel like giggling. I feel like a kid all over again. Now you have other books, and how many like collectively have you written, Jennifer? I know you've got some going in the background, and that you're working on one. Maybe you want to tell us about that. What's coming up in books? What's next for you in books?
Sure. In addition to the tea books, we do have some other books that we've published. And the one in the middle, the Book of Days, is an educational type book. We do have about 7 planned teas in that book as well. They're primarily timeline related teas or cultural related teas. So you might have a Japanese tea ceremony in there or a Boston Tea Party. The books that we're working on right now are very exciting to us because it's a little bit different than books we've done in the past. We have a beautiful collection of quotes, not exclusively tea quotes, that's due to come out the end of this month, the end of September. And we also have a tea room cookbook. Our heart's desire is to share our recipes, especially those that we've had compliments on. But also, through the years, as we've shared tea out in our community, we've collected what we call tea stories, and we've recorded them. So the book that we're about to publish is a tea room cookbook, but it will be infused with tea stories and also photography that we have of teacups in unusual situations, such as out in nature, nestled in tree branches, in the creek, in a flower bed. So we're very excited to finally get this to print. The recipe portion was the easy part, and that's been compiled, and now it's just up to me to edit and get it to the printer.
Well, your books cover a wide demographic, and you're involved in the community. I mean, it's really a warm relationship that you have with people in general. But I think of you in terms of other tea rooms, because of Mid-Tennessee Tea Association and other groups that I know that you're in. And so I think of you as across the age, and there is no gender, there is nothing. I mean, it's just a broad appeal. But if you were to say that in some of your upcoming books, is there a demographic or a target market, if we called it such, is there a target market that you'd like to be addressing in the future?
Well, certainly, because several of our books are geared toward children, we would like to let children of school ages know about that. We've also homeschooled for 25 years, so I am active in that community as well, and I would love to see parents use our books in their home education, but they're targeted for children across the ages. They're also just a whole lot of fun for grandmas. I have so many grandmothers who buy the art books that later come back and share with me the pleasure that they had going through the fine artwork with their grandchildren. Certainly children are the target market.
Well, we've talked about a lot of things here, and it's amazing that we started out with tea, and it is a tea-centric kind of, I call it tea land, but we are tea-centric. It all centers around tea, but people have such lifestyles associated with tea that it's interesting to see what effects they have in the spin-offs, because it's still, when you get back to it, it's still about the cup of tea or tea land, as I call it again. But anyway, what you've done with this in an outreach program all the way around, your tea education also is extensive. You're out of the community actually teaching about tea. Tell us a little bit about FEE.
That was a class that we designed to host once a month in our tea room, and it's my favorite event of the month. We have ladies that come, they have no idea what the class is about. They just sit down excited to learn and to try new teas. But what the afternoon tea fetes are all about is trying to show that tea is for everyone, that it's not stuffy or fussy or mystic or mysterious, that it is delicious, that it's nutritious, that there's a flavor and a variety of tea for every palate. That's that maybe do a tea tasting on the different flavors of oolong, or introduce yopan, or look at tea cultures from China to Buenos Aires.
Well, I'm going to show a slide pretty soon about when you take this out into the world, when you're actually doing professional speaking, or someone has requested you, that you're actually commissioned to come give an education program for a group or a segment of the industry. But I want to insert here too a little bit about why. It's not that I'm saying that you're so important, Jennifer, but you are a registered nurse, so that gives you a background in health benefits and how those would relate. You're a master herbalist in addition, and when you're talking about these things, it's not just because you're talking about things that are pretty or you're having a good time, although you certainly are, but at the same time, you've really got your foundation going there. So you connect with communities in a variety of different ways. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at on the slide right now?
Sure. These are some of our attempts of reaching out to the people, both local and across the country. We do go out and give tea presentations on afternoon tea, and that is something that we really enjoy doing. Anybody who comes to one of these presentations is prepared to really just enjoy themselves. The first question I always ask when I start my presentation is, what's your experience with tea? Do you drink tea on a daily basis? And I love that moment when I get to hear what different people's exposure or experiences are with tea. We right now aren't doing too much in the community, but we hope to resume Three Sisters on the Road program very soon. We also had about 2 years ago started the Mid-Tennessee Tea Association. And again, this is kind of quiet right now, but we have aspirations to resume as soon as that's possible. And the big thing that the Mid-Tennessee Tea Association did was to host a small tea expo here in Tennessee. And we said that we were connecting tea businesses with tea lovers. And people would come to our little tea room and say, there's no place to go for tea in Tennessee. And I'd say, oh yes, there is. And I'd try to direct them to different tea rooms. And we found that an association could be a good thing to kind of be the hub for the tea businesses in our little slice of Tennessee. So we try to promote anything that's going on in the tea world through that. We also started very recently the Three Sisters Letter Writing Society, and we are excited about that. We haven't really done too much other than just gather members, but through this recent pandemic, we have, as a tea room, written hundreds of letters to people. We decided that maybe people needed a central place to meet one another, maybe have common interests right off the bat, which would be tea, and get to know each other. And so we've created a Facebook group to do just that.
And here you are speaking, and you have a variety of topics that you speak about. I know, and I get all wrapped up in this. I won't ask you to repeat about it. And I'll give the contact information at the end. You are available for other podcasts. You're available for guest speaking. What would you say your focus maybe is as we turn things around here and your business is growing? You've outgrown your tea room. What would be your next outreach then?
Because of my medical background, I really am passionate about tea as part of a healthy lifestyle. And recently I read a sentence that said tea is better than water. And that got me really thinking that pure unadulterated tea, sip for sip, was better than water. Right now we've developed a tea challenge on how to add more tea to your diet. We have released that idea in our last tea fete, and I've had a handful of guests email me saying that they've started taking matcha shots in the morning and they're taking the challenge. So that's very encouraging, because I feel strongly that tea is good for a healthy lifestyle.
Well, I think you're everywhere. I know you write articles for Spring Hill Life magazine, for local newspapers, for the Tea Lifestyle magazine. Uh, but if you were to say that, I mean, just to kind of wrap up here, what is the biggest perk of your job? You're just everywhere, but what is the biggest perk?
Well, that's an easy question. The biggest perk of my job is working with my daughters. They are just really fun people to be with. They're creative and artistic and kind and lovely. And we have always worked together, and we work well together. If I had to give you a close second, it would be the beautiful people that we meet. It's very unusual to meet a grouchy tea drinker or a grouchy tea lover. And so we have been blessed time and time again, no matter where we go to speak, of just meeting the kindest and dearest people.
Well, let me ask you one more question. Well, maybe a couple more questions, but one other question. If you knew that you could only drink one kind of tea, your final cup of tea, your very favorite peak tea, what would it be?
Well, I used to have a pat answer, and now I would probably say one of these beautiful, delicious Taiwanese oolongs that just taste like creaminess without any cream. I love Taiwanese oolongs.
Me too. I'm really partial to it. I'm glad you
Yes.
enjoyed that. It is a wonderful tea, and it's special in every way. We are going to wind up and wish everyone a wonderful day. But Jennifer, could you please tell us how to connect with you? You have a Facebook page, right? If people were searching for you on Facebook, where would they find you?
Yes, they can find us at facebook.com/Three Sisters Tearoom. We also have a website, threesisterstearoom.com. Pretty easy to find us.
And how about on Amazon for the books?
Yes, we have an author's page under my name, Jennifer Stowe.
Okay, and then this honestly, I'm not trying to pick you apart here, but if people wanted to be on your list for upcoming books or for announcements about where you're going to be, or to connect with you to ask you to guest speak, how would they get in touch with you?
Probably the contact us on our website or through our Facebook pages would be the best way.
Okay, so get on your mailing list for sure. And then you post your events on Facebook, and you have live casts and other things on there. So I really encourage people to go there. But you have so many different topics, and your focus on the books is amazing right now. I just can't say enough about those. And as soon as I have a cover photo of your upcoming books, I'll make sure I post them.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you for your time today, and we'll be seeing you all again soon. Thank you, Jennifer.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you to our guest for sharing time with us today. And thank you for tuning in. Linger longer with us. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to ttrademark.com to subscribe to our newsletter, catch our next episode, and follow us on social media. This is Jennifer Petersen with Tea Trademark, reminding you that Tealand is a happy place.